Hey, in today's video, I want to talk about how to analyze a product or a company. I'm going to explain a very simple way of doing this analysis so it can apply to both types of entities. So why do you want to do an analysis of a product or a company? Well, there are going to be several cases, but I'm going to concentrate on maybe the three most typical ones. The first one is that you might want to research a competitor. You want to try to figure out what are their strengths, where they are placed, who they are serving, and all these things that are going to help you understand better what is their position compared to yours as a product or as a company. The second one is that you might want to do a general research of the company. There are many reasons why you might want to do a more general research, and maybe it's just because you are partnering with them, or maybe you are looking even into an M&A and you want to do that first analysis of understanding if this could be a good fit for this company to be, or this product to be purchased. And the last one that I think that is one of the most common ones is that you might be looking to work with them. It is very important that you do some kind of research, even if it's a very basic research, even if you are not going for the most highest level positions. The higher the position you want to reach or you want to apply to, the more or the deeper your research has to go. So what are the different areas that you are going to base your research on? What are the things that you are going to look into this company that are going to help you make a more educated decision, whether it's for analyzing that competitor, applying to that company, whatever it is the case for you. So let's go through the most important ones. The first one is that what is the problem that this company is solving? Where are they solving the need of their potential customer? This is a basic one. If you are a person that works with products, as most likely you are if you are in this channel, you probably know that these are the basics of what you have to start always with. You have to understand very well that problem and understand how they are facing it, maybe potentially even solving it at this point, those customers. And let's also talk about where you can find this information. So the problem usually is they have a properly structured information. You are going to be able to find it from their website. Sometimes they will say it explicitly that this is the problem that they are solving. Sometimes they will say it as part of their value proposition. Or you have to understand that, well, they're bringing value in here, so obviously they are solving a certain problem. So you might have to do a little bit of digging, maybe reviews of people that are using the product and see how it's helping them, what it's solving, what problem is solving for them. This is going to help you a lot to understand what is the problem that they're doing. And it's also going to help you to validate it, especially if you're looking at reviews of customers and so on. The second area that you want to look into is the value proposition. The value proposition is basically the benefit that they are providing to their customers. It's not obviously the problem. That's why sometimes the problem is more difficult to research because sometimes not so explicitly mentioned. Whereas the value proposition, the benefit that they bring, the value that they are giving you as a user, that usually is much better explained in their website. And it's also something that people, even when they do reviews, they tend to go into the value and the benefit that gives them, but they usually don't tell that much about the original problem that they are trying to solve. That's usually not how people talk. You usually don't start always with the story of why do I want to do something. You were talking about, I do exercise because I like it and blah, 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 but I don't say it. What are the reasons behind of starting doing exercise? The value proposition can be found in different ways. Obviously, there's the website, there's potential reviews of customers. There are sometimes some testing versions of this product, so you can go and check it out and kind of experience it yourself. So this happens both with software products, but also hardware products. You can go and test drive a car. You can go and test Netflix, for example, for, I don't remember how much is the trial, 7 days, 14 days, usually that's the number. And that will give you an idea of what the value is that that product is giving you. The third one is how they are going to solve this problem and how they are solving this problem. This is something that it's important for different reasons and maybe not sometimes that obvious, but it can tell you better of their how good they are at their job, basically. Are they doing a good job? Are they using the right technologies, the right solutions, the right tools to be able to build that product? Are they doing it in a scalable way, in a way that is going to be good in the future? Or are they a little bit hacky and they just put things together? It's just like, the quality assurance mantra of if it builds, ship it. So what you want to do is that you want to understand better how they're building this solution, how they're building this product, to understand if it's built in a sound way or maybe if it's built in a maybe not so, let's say, scalable way. How they're solving it, there's going to be different things. You can look at the features. That's a way to solve it. And that's going to tell you to a certain degree that the features of this product are this, and this. And that explains you a little bit how they're solving that problem. That doesn't tell you about the quality of the product itself. So sometimes going to the reviews and seeing how people are perceiving these features. Are they really what they're promised in the website? Usually there's a little bit discrepancy from what you hear to what the reality is of the product. So understanding that gap, and if that gap is small, well, that's probably quite close to the truth. If it's quite wide, then they might be overinflating their marketing about the features that they are bringing and the solutions that they're bringing to you. So try to understand this. Try to understand if it's built in a sound way, if it's built in a safe and scalable way for the future. Now we are going to move more like into business topics related to that product or company. So the first one here are going to be the finances of this company. This might be really tricky. This might be really difficult to get, especially if it's not a public company. If it's a public company, usually, well, you can go to the investor relations pages and they should have publicly available the information about the company, their products, at least to a certain degree. Some companies are going to break down more per product. Some companies, they are not going to be that open about it. So you might have to do some guess if you want to specifically look at a specific product. Sometimes, of course, you can also look into things like Crunchbase and other pages where you can find information about publicly traded companies. You can see like their investor rounds and stuff like that are going to help you understand a little bit the situation of that company. Can be a very good resource to understand this. And of course, when you are looking into finances, you want to understand better what kind of the situation of the company is. Are they in growth phase? Are they already being profitable? Are they in the very early stages? Are they very mature and maybe not growing anymore? Just to try to understand like in a big picture. Again, as I said earlier, this is a very high level analysis. This is not a super in-depth and is not the goal of this. I know that if you are looking for that, you might have to go super deep into the finances. And if you want to take the research further, that is true. But for this video and for the topic of this video, for basic research, it doesn't make sense. Just stay in the high level, understand a little bit what's the trend, how it has been evolving historically, like over the years or quarters, and that will give you a quite good picture of the situation of the company. The next one are going to be the customers and the user personas. So customer and user personas, if you are thinking about B2C, are the same thing, are the same kind of entity. But if you're thinking about B2B, so business to business, as compared to B2C, just business to consumer, you are going to have usually a different person, like being the customer, usually it's the company, and then the other one that is the user persona. And usually you're going to have the buyer persona as well. So how do you identify these ones? Well, that might be tricky and might require some kind of assumptions. Some companies, they have their website organized by usually it's products, and sometimes they have then a section which is solutions, and sometimes they have something else that is industries. Sometimes industries are under solutions. But when you look at the industries, that's going to give you an idea of the type of customer. Usually there's not going to be a specific, in that high level, there's not going to be yet information about who's the user persona. You might have to dig in a little bit further to understand who are the real users of the product. Okay, so I might be selling to, I don't know, construction industries, or I might be selling to automotive industry. But when you're selling to those companies, you might be selling to somebody up in the company, even to a CTO, CFO, or somebody like that. But then the actual users is going to be a different story. Who is that actual user? Now we are talking about the buyer persona, who be that CTO or CFO. Then the user persona will be the person that it's, I don't know, using the machine, using the computer, using it for programming, whatever it is that they are taking advantage of that product that that company is providing. Yeah, as I said, usually you can see this. The best way to identify these ones is by looking into the website. You usually are going to see what are the industry, what are the types of people that they are targeting. With B2C, you can see it also quite well. Sometimes it's very based on demographics, and you can see that, okay, are they going for young audiences, or are they going for audiences in certain countries, or what is it exactly? And of course, it can be also tailored to people that like doing exercise, not necessarily demographics. So you can see that to a certain degree, you're going to have to do some assumptions. Obviously, you are going to do assumptions in pretty much all of these different areas. The next one that you want to understand when looking into these companies is, are they focusing business to business, or are they focusing business to consumer? Why this is important, it should be obvious, but some companies can have both components. Some companies and even some products can have both components. So, for example, Microsoft Office. Office can be used as a personal tool. Some people can use Word or Excel for managing their own things at home. And some people, or in the school or whatever, and some people, or most of the cases, going to be companies. Of course, you have to look in the website and identify which one is the area that is more important for them. Are they heavier on the business to consumer, or are they heavier on the business to business? So if you think about offices, probably quite clearly tilted towards the business to business. It's mostly used by companies. Everybody in the company then is using Office 365 or whichever is the version that they have at this point. And if you think about other companies that are doing this, so let's think about Tesla or any other car manufacturer for that matter. Most of them are probably going to be selling most of their vehicles towards consumers. And then there's going to be some part of their vehicles that are sold towards businesses. So think about companies that do renting, car renting. So those companies are going to be business to business cases. And then there's going to be some other cases where, if you think about like these small vans and things like that, probably those are going to be more tailored towards business to business than for consumers. So you can see that same products, same companies, obviously, but even same products can be sold both to business or business to consumers. And you have more complex situations where you have B2B, B2C, so business to consumer, and so on. But let's not go into those ones. If you want to do a proper research, you should familiarize yourself with all those ones and how to create a platform and sell to customers and sell to other companies and so on. But if I'm correct, I have a video about this. I will link it up here. Another one that you want to look into is the geographical presence. Companies can sound, especially nowadays, because they have all a website and it sounds like they sell anywhere, but they're going to have a very strong presence in certain areas. So, for example, a company that came out of, I don't know, let's say Germany, might be very strong in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, but maybe might not be that strong in the rest of Europe or US or whatnot. The same will happen with companies in the US. They might be super strong there, but maybe they are not that strong outside, or maybe they are strong in Canada or whatnot. This is something that might not be very obvious from their website. It might be difficult to understand where are they selling. Sometimes you can see it if they have like an online store, and if they only support certain currencies, kind of obvious that they're only selling for that market, or that they're very strong in that market and the rest is just peanuts for them. And then there's, for me, I think that the best way to find this, of course, there's the online store that you could check, although I don't see that that's a very reliable one, because not all the companies are going to have that obviously stated there or even that available. But you can go to something like Google Trends. Of course, this is going to depend a lot on the company size, product size. If the company or the product are really small, you probably are not going to find almost any data. But if you're thinking about companies which are already, having a revenue of several million per year, usually they are going to appear already in Google Trends. So there's going to be some interest already generated that is going to appear there. Of course, if they only sell very, very high ticket products, it might be that then is very little because they don't sell many units compared to the price that they have. But if you are thinking about the other case that, okay, more like normal price products, you like software products, you usually are going to see them already popping up in Google Trends. The good thing with Google Trends, if you scroll down, you can see the geographical areas where that interest is coming from. Usually, where there's good interest, usually the company is going to have some channel there. Not always. This is true in some cases, especially if the company is in the very early stages and it has managed to do a lot of buzz. It might be that it's been tried to or searched from many different countries and it actually doesn't have presence there or cannot be purchased there yet. So that's something that to gauge there and to try to understand if this is realistic or this is just interest, or especially with more established companies, usually the interest is, there's not going to be that virality. I think that this is going to be more in companies that are in early stages. In companies that are more established, usually the interest is going to come from the areas mainly where they are already present. The next one, for me, one of the most important ones are the strategic intents of the company. What are the strategic cornerstones of the company? What are the biggest problems that they have identified that they are trying to solve? This is very important and something that it might not be that easy to find, but something that if you go to their website, they might state. And usually you will find that the company, when they talk about a product or they talk about the company in general, they tend to concentrate in one message. If they're concentrating one message mainly, that's because that's a strategic area for them. That's because that's one of the key value propositions for them, or the key problems that they want to solve. That is going to hint you on what could be those strategic intents. If it's a public company, you can also go to the investor relationships and go and take a look to the latest conference call that they have had. So they usually do conference calls every quarter, so you are not very far from the latest one usually. So you can find their information about what are usually they will start a more high level on the company status, then they go to the finances. Usually after that, they go a little bit more on what the strategy is. That's the part that you want to pay attention to. This is very important because it's going to help you understand where the efforts of the company are going to be in the future. They are going to have some big bets. So for example, Tesla has now this upcoming lower priced model. They have been talking about it for a while, but not very heavily. Cybertruck, they talk a lot about it, but this lower price model they haven't talked so much about, but now it seems to be something that they're focusing on. And that's probably a very strategic intent for them because they want to build that product, that car that is accessible for the masses, because they don't have access to the masses with the current prices that the cars have. Even if they have dropped down prices, they're still very expensive cars for most of the people. Most of the people are not going to spend $40,000, $50,000 or euros in a car. That's not going to happen. Most of the people are going to look for a $20,000 to $30,000 euros car. Anyways, from the investors relations or from the website, you can try to guess a little bit what are going to be those strategic intents. This is important because it's going to tell you where the company is putting their bets. What are the big things that they want to achieve in the near future? The next one that I want to look always, that I think that's very important, is how popular this company is, how much buzz the company is having. Is this a company that people know about? Is this a company that people are going to even consider when they're looking for a new product? This is important because it's the entry of your funnel. If people don't know about your company, well, it's going to be difficult that they find your company, that they find your products and whatnot. If people already know about it, that's going to tell you that, well, there's potential there. There's awareness. I don't have to create so much awareness when people know already my products. So you know better where the effort is going to be in the company. No matter how big the problem is that they are solving and how great the solution is, if nobody knows that company, most likely they're not going to be a very big player in that industry, on that market. And where can you find this? Again, I think that Google Trends is probably one of your best friends here. And you can also compare it to competitors or even yourself if you are the competitor of that company, to understand better what people would prefer, where people are actually searching for. So you can compare, for example, searching for iPhones or Android, or iPhones and Samsung, whatever model it is, and so on. So you can do those comparisons to understand where the interest is. It might be that the interest is the same in those ones, but it's going to differ a lot if you go from geography to geography. That's going to tell you a lot about where these different products or these different companies are stronger and where they are weaker. Another place that you can look, if especially you are looking for very popular products, you can look for YouTube videos, you can look for reviews online, and you can look even in places like Reddit. Reddit have very strong communities generally, and is some place that you could see how people feel about those products. Company culture. Okay, something that in my opinion is very often overlooked when doing our research is understanding the company culture. Is this a company that has a healthy culture? Is it a company that it's just, quite, I don't want to say abusive, but quite, I don't know, let's say tight or very traditional? Not saying that it's good or bad. It's just, does it fit me or does it fit my company? And does it work in a similar way? Is it a good match? Or what is it exactly? Or for whatever purposes that you are doing it. I think that this is something that is going to help you understand better what that company culture is, what the ways of working. And this is something that suits my style, especially if I am applying for a job, or even if I'm looking to acquire that company. Maybe in the future, it would be good that there is some kind of match. If you take companies together that have very strong and different cultures, there's going to be most likely a clash of these cultures. And it's important that you are able to understand this before you make that decision, because once you get there, this is a very long-term project to make sure that those things align, that those people can work together, that there's no friction. There's going to be friction probably everywhere, almost every time, but if you are able to kind of, smooth it out, and if you are able to, or if it's a good match for you. So for doing the company culture analysis, for me, maybe the best way to analyze this is through Glassdoor. Glassdoor is great to do this analysis because, okay, if you're not familiar with Glassdoor, let's start from there. Glassdoor is a place where people, or a portal where people can go and write their reviews about companies, usually their employees. They can even also add things like salaries and other stuff, or talk about the recruitment process, if I'm correct. The thing with Glassdoor is that, of course, we are all humans, we are all biased. To a certain degree that we are biased, I am biased on the way I'm doing these videos or this analysis, what my opinions are. Everybody's biased to a certain degree. So you had to try to maybe take away a little bit the biased opinions that you're going to hear or read when you're checking in Glassdoor, but it is still, no matter what, a great resource to see what the company culture is and how people, the workers, perceive that company. This is probably, in my opinion, the best place to look. I've seen sentence reviews of companies within Reddit, but those are rare and it's probably going to be only for the major players. If you go to a small player, I would very highly doubt that you find reviews in somewhere like Reddit. And I'm going to plug this in now. It looks like I changed place because I forgot to mention here is that you have to also look for the competitors of the company, the competitors of this product, to understand where are the position, where are they, their strengths, how they differ, what are the unique value propositions, what are the key value propositions compared to the product that you are analyzing, how they're strong, where they're strong geographically, so on. How can you find information about these ones? Again, Google probably is going to be the best option. You can just Google and look for, okay, what are the competitors or alternatives for this product or this company? And you can also then analyze them in something like Google Trends. Google Trends is going to be helpful from the point of view of that is going to tell you how popular, how much interest there is in these products, and also is going to break it down by geographical areas. So the interest might be the same, but might be very different when you spread it across different areas. So what can you do next with this information, this analysis that I have been talking about. So first of all, you can take it further. You can look into what is going to be the future of this industry and where should it be going, or doing predictions about where this could be going in the future. You can see now in car industry, which is changing a lot because of EVs, even if the adoption has, or the rate of adoption has slowed down a bit, there's still a place where many companies are going to be going in the future. And this will include things like having more autonomous driving in the car, something that you can see that all the companies are trying to strive for. There are better entertainment systems within the car, because when you have people in the car and they don't have to pay so much attention to driving, especially in the future, for now, everybody has to pay attention, they're getting better and better infotainment systems basically within the car, or entertainment systems within the car. So if you want to take this analysis further, you can look into what are the trends that this industry is going through or potentially going into in the future. AI, of course, because everybody and everything is going to have AI in the future. We have to look into how this could impact this industry, this company, this product. The other one that you can use this for is if you are applying to a job. You can use this analysis that you have done in the company when you are potentially tailoring your resume, your CV, where you are telling more about your experiences. So if you are applying for a certain industry and you have experience on that industry, you probably want to talk more about that, and maybe don't talk so much about experiences that you have in other industries, but maybe talk about the skills that are transferable to this job. And also, if you do a cover letter, which probably would be a good idea to do, you can use parts of this research or this analysis to mention things that you have identified in the company and where you could bring value to the company. I'm seeing or talking that you want to expand or you want to create a new suite of products in this area, and I know this industry pretty well, and I think that this could bring value for me when coming into this role. This will help the company also understand better how you are bringing value to them, not just only by analyzing your past experiences. So something to look into, that you can always take this research further. So in summary, analyzing a company can help you a lot for research purposes if you are trying to do, for example, a partnership with this company, or if you are looking into what are your competitors and what are they doing, how they are doing in this market, and how maybe I could be outcompeting them in the future. And also, if you are applying to a job or a role in that company, this is going to put you in a very good position to ask questions, to answer potential questions that they might have of how can you bring experience to that company. Plus is something that if you understand the company's problems, the company's strategies, the company's goals and products, or you're familiar with them, you are going to be so much better equipped to drive the conversation instead of being in a position where they're trying to figure out what you are bringing into the table, because you're already showing that you know what you're doing, that you know where this company is. This is going to put you in a much better position when you're running for a new role. So I have mentioned here several tools that I would use to do this analysis, to do this research. So things like the quarter analysis or quarterly reports of a company. I would also use things like Google Trends, something like Glassdoor, even look into different places like Reddit and YouTube for reviews and so on. But these are just an example tools, and there are other tools that you could use, and there are also paid research studies that you could use as part of your analysis. This will depend a lot on how much effort, how deep do you have to go into your analysis. Another thing that you have to take into account is that you have to understand that all this analysis has been made out of assumptions. And ideally, you could validate this with other methods. It's always going to be maybe slightly difficult to do the validation, but you can present it also as an assumption, as a study, as an analysis that you have done, and also explain to people that this has to be further analyzed and further validated with different sources, like potential customers of those products, or even when you are doing an interview, just explicitly mention that these are my assumptions based on the information that is publicly available. I don't have, obviously, access to your records, so I don't know your finances or your real strategy, but I understand out of what you're telling in your website, in your investor relations pages, what your strategy could be. These are my guesses. And finally, I would like to say that this is an analysis that some people, when talking about analyzing a company or a product, the first thing that's going to pop up is going to be stock analysis. This has nothing to do with stock analysis because I haven't gone into any of those beautiful things like P ratios, all the stuff that they love to talk about. I'm not an expert on that. I heard something, but this is not the purpose of this kind of analysis. It could help if you are just looking for the fundamentals of the company, if you want to understand what are the fundamentals of the basics of what that company is doing, where it's going to be, what are the strategies, who are the competitors, so on. This is going to help you with that. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. It helps massively the channel and all the effort that I'm putting in doing all these videos. And subscribe to the channel if you are not, if you want to hear more about how to work in software companies, products, and building businesses around them. If you're interested in this topic and would like me to analyze a company in the future, please comment below and maybe even drop the company that you think that would be interesting to analyze. I will see you in the next one, and remember, stay safe.